Hey guys, you're watching In the Boat with Ben TV. My name is Ben and this is Rachel.
Hey guys.
Today we're talking about getting work done from home when you have kids. And one of the first things that you have to accept, one of the first realities that you have to square with, is the fact that when you're responsible for the kids, when you're supposed to be watching them and you're trying to get work done, you're not going to do your best work. You're certainly going to have a difficult time doing any kind of focused work. And that was a reality that was difficult for me to accept. And because of that, I experienced a lot of frustration when I first had children and was trying to get work done while I was watching them. And when I finally let go of that illusion, I was able to relax a whole lot, and it helped me set some of my other priorities straight.
It's a little different too when you have an infant as opposed to older children because an infant stays where he's put and, you have an easier time of it.
Yeah, I mean when our firstborn was a baby, he was there in his car seat and so quiet. I mean, it was almost like there weren't any kids at all. I was able to focus and get work done. And I think that's part of what perpetuated that illusion
Yeah.
for me was that I thought, oh, it's always gonna. And if I really thought about it, I knew that wasn't true. But I was kind of setting myself up for thinking that I could continue operating that way. And when reality set in, I had to go through that frustration and then finally say, you know what? I can't operate as if I'm going to be able to get work
Hmm.
done, the kind of work done during this time that I want to.
Because you know what? Our kids turn 3.
They do. If they survive, they turn 3. So we're going to talk a little bit more about working when you are responsible for the kids later on. But first, I want to talk about setting clear boundaries. So in a situation like we have where we both work from home and we kind of trade off, one or the other of us is responsible for the kids at any given time. So the one who's working has to set some really clear boundaries in order to be able to focus. In order for you to do your best work, the possibility of distraction has to completely go away. And that's something that we worked really hard in the beginning when we were working out our schedule, trying to set up.
Hmm. And some of the things we did for that are little things like we'll wear headphones when we're
Hmm.
working so that it kind of drowns out the home noise.
When you're working and you're trying to concentrate on something and the kids are screaming downstairs,
Hmm.
and I don't know, maybe you don't have kids that scream. Ours,
We
they've
have
got
screamers.
they've got some pipes on them. It's difficult as a spouse who wants to help out and knows that something is going on, not to stop what I'm doing and go downstairs. And it may take actually getting out of the home environment from time to time,
Sometimes, yeah.
right? But if you want to stay in your home environment, you can do things like putting on headphones or blaring some music or
Hmm.
finding some other way to get some focus time.
Hmm.
And and then there are the obvious boundaries, letting your spouse and your kids know whatever your workspace is off limits for the duration of your time working.
Sometimes that looks like locking a bedroom door or an office door if we have an office. And also with our older children, it looks like talking to them about, you know what, these are the hours that mom works. So you're not allowed to go in there and tell her what you did at school today or something. And some of those things we can allow some allowances for. But we want to keep that time as distraction free as we can. And I think our boys have gotten really used to not interrupting those work hours because we do come together as a family to have dinner. And so we all get to talk about those things anyway. So if our kids know that they get another opportunity to do that, then they're much more likely to be okay with leaving us alone during the work hours.
One of the things that I believed and held on to and just stood by was this idea that, well, I work for myself. I'm an entrepreneur, so I should be able to just take a break whenever I want to and go and spend some time with my family when I feel a little bit of resistance in my work. I should be able to do those things. That's why I'm working for myself. And really what's true is when you work for yourself, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to have more self-discipline. You have to have even better secure boundaries to maintain that focus. And what happens is when you make those allowances, now now I'm not saying you have to be a Nazi about it, but you want to be careful because it can have this runaway effect. If you if you make too many allowances and you're taking your work time and hanging out with your family, during the time that you're spending with your family, you feel like you owe your work time some of your attention. And it can be a really subtle thing at first, just a couple of thoughts here and there, but it's enough of a distraction that it steals from the quality of the time that you have with your family. And so maybe those distractions lead you to feel a little bit guilty while you're doing your work. You thought, I was so distracted with my family. And you're working and you're thinking about your family, and if you're not careful, that can get away from you, and you can constantly be in this state of feeling like you're being pulled in the other direction.
Yeah, I agree.
So when you have this time set aside, you've got these clear boundaries set. One of the most important things you can do is find your best focus. Now, there's this thing that I read. I can't remember. It was some article or
Yeah,
something,
that
but
would
it
be.
talked about power blocks. It talked about how the amount of work an average employee does in 8 hours, someone who is really focused and concentrated can actually accomplish in about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. If you think about your day in those 90-minute blocks and say you've got 3 or 4 of them, that's 4 days worth of work that you can get done theoretically within a single day. And maybe you are a very highly productive person, but how much more productive could you be if you were very intentional about how you focused? And so
Mhm.
I wanted to pitch this to Rachel because she's got some really great practices in place already for herself that I'm trying to put into practice for me.
What I do is I'll list out all of the 90-minute blocks that I have, and then I'll schedule things for each of those 90 minutes. And for those 90 minutes, I'm not doing anything but work. So there's no social media, there's no answering the phone, unless it's an emergency, like our boys' school calls or something like that. I'm not looking at texts, I'm not doing anything but that work. And so I I have 3 of those every day because that's just how my schedule falls. And I feel like I can get a whole lot done because it's completely focused work. And I think that having those smaller pieces of time have actually helped me be so much more productive. I mean, I used to work a full-time job, 8 hours a day, and I didn't get nearly as much done as I do now.
Yeah, so the constraint here is what's really important. When I think about having an 8 hour day and trying to fill that with tasks and productivity, that feels a little bit overwhelming. 90 minutes is a nice constraint because it's like, okay, I know in 90 minutes I can get this done and I can just focus on this one thing. And I also like what you said about scheduling time for those extra things like playing on social media or checking your email or those kinds of things. Even building some margin into your day where you don't necessarily have some kind of activity scheduled is really great for helping you maintain focus when you're supposed to be working because you know that you have time set aside for those other things. You're not seeking those out as distractions while you're working.
Absolutely.
So, what if you are responsible for the kids? What if you do have to watch the kids, but there's some stuff that you need to get done? We've already established that you're not going to be able to get your best work done. There are certain things that require so much of your focus and attention that you can't really even work on those things. One of the things that you built into my schedule is what's called light work time. And there are certainly things, certain tasks in my workflow that don't require as much of my attention. And while I could get them done faster during other times when I have complete focus, I can still work on them while I'm responsible for the kids. And so it's good to identify what those things are
Mm-hmm.
and look at those times, anticipate those times in your schedule when you are going to need to get some work done, but you are also responsible for the kids so that you can schedule them during those times. And on occasion, you might need to make an exception and set the kids up with a movie so that you can get something done. Don't beat yourself up over that.
Nope.
And don't beat up your spouse over that either.
Wait, who beats up whom?
No, I didn't say anything. I mean, it was for them.
Oh, okay.
Well, I hope that this was helpful information for you. We definitely go deeper into this kind of topic on the podcast. You can go to intheboatwithben.com. We've got our podcast episodes there. They run about 45 minutes to an hour. You can listen to topics like these, also topics about family relationships and raising a family from the standpoint of values. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Go ahead. I'm just going to leave the button there for a minute or two.
Sounds good.
All right. Of this opportunity, when they ask why, is to attach the rule or whatever it is that we're communicating to something that is of value for our family.